Hey everyone, I'm Jason, aka Fluid Fiction. Welcome to my newly created YouTube page. Now, most of the videos on this channel are actually going to be unlisted, as the videos on this channel are sort of intended for patron eyes only. But I've decided to leave just this one video public just to sort of give everybody an idea of what it is I'm doing here on this channel. Now, the reason for that is because, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know of any other people who have done videos necessarily like what I have in mind. I'm not necessarily claiming to be the first one to do this, I'm just saying I personally have never seen it done before. So the idea behind this is essentially narrative gaming videos. What that means is each week I will spend some time playing some video game of some sort. I tend to favorite games like adventure fantasy genre type stuff like Elder Scrolls, Fable, stuff like that. But I'm willing to be a little flexible towards whatever my patrons would rather see. But essentially, as I play through the story mode of those games, I will be recording my computer screen and I will sort of cut together all the exciting stuff that sort of is relevant to the story or relevant to the story that I'm sort of creating with these videos. Obviously cutting out all the filler stuff, like me dying 700 times. Once it's all edited and cut together, I will then be adding my own narrative voiceover, hence the narrative part of it. Now, this voiceover will consist of basically just me narrating what is going on in the game, sort of adding my own little bits of flavor to the story. And you'll notice sometimes I even go into detail adding things that aren't really there content-wise in the game, just sort of adding some more depth to the story, the protagonist that I'm playing, a little bit more of a roleplay aspect to it, sort of. Just sort of adding to it, fleshing out the story some, if you will. If you've read any of the stories on my Patreon, then you sort of probably already have a little bit of an idea of my writing style and how I like to describe things narratively, so you have a little bit of an idea of what to expect. So, as I said, my narration will consist mostly of my own dialogue that I am creating based on what's going on in the game. However, I will also include any bits of flavor text that I come across in the game that isn't already voiced in the game. And my cat has now decided that she would like to help with the video by setting up the tripod, or rather taking it down. So, to prevent her from doing so, she will now be in the video for however long she decides to participate. So once all of that is done, the playing of the game, the editing, the voiceover, the finished product that you guys will be left with is basically my neatly packaged retelling of the game's story mode. So the first game that I will be doing this with is Elder Scrolls Arena. For those of you who don't know, which I'm sure is probably like nobody, Elder Scrolls Arena is the first game in the now famous Elder Scrolls series. What some of you may know a little bit better as Skyrim. Now, just to get this out of the way up front from the beginning, I am by no means a hardcore gamer of any sorts. I am a casualist at best and more like an occasionalist, truthfully, if that's a thing. Although I guess producing these videos more often now, I probably will be playing video games a little bit more, and maybe I will get a little bit better at them, maybe not. We'll see. We'll find out together. But at any rate, if what you are looking for is a detailed playthrough that shows every little detail of these games, then I would unfortunately have to advise you to look elsewhere, because that's not really what this is. I would probably advise you to look at someone who knows what they're doing with video games a little bit better than I do. If you're looking specifically for a Let's Play of Elder Scrolls Arena, I would actually advise a YouTuber that I have been watching a lot lately named Blue Screen Jason. I'm currently on episode 68, I believe, of his Elder Scrolls Arena series. I'd actually been watching it for a while before I decided to do this, and now I've decided to do this. I think it will actually be very helpful. Probably refer back to a lot of his older videos that I watched a while back to help me get through the game, since, like I said, I'm not great. But luckily I'll be cutting out all the stuff where I mess up, so you guys will just get to see the fun stuff. Also, for the record, just to throw this out there, I almost kind of felt like it needed to be said for some reason, even though it probably didn't, but I'll just throw it out there. Me and Blue Screen Jason are not the same person. We both happen to be named Jason. We both happen to enjoy Elder Scrolls Arena. That's about the extent of it. One more thing before I go, I did want to shout out my patrons really quick. Bailey Royale, Toxique, That Book Mom, and Jen. Thank you guys so much for supporting the Patreon. Anyways, without further ado, please enjoy my narrative playthrough of Elder Scrolls Arena.
The Elder Scrolls, Chapter 1, The Arena. For centuries, different factions battled in petty wars and border conflicts, until year 896 of the Second Era, Septim crushed all who opposed him and took control, proclaiming himself as emperor. Still, the bitter years of war had its effect on the populace. The name Tamriel, Elvish for dawn's beauty, seldom fell from anguished lips and was soon forgotten. In a place where life and death were different sides of the same coin tossed every day, the people of the known world began calling the land of their sorrow the Arena. Now, 492 years after Septim took control and kept the peace, the land of the Arena has a new threat. Uriel Septim VII celebrates his 43rd birthday, but jealous hearts desire the throne and plot his downfall. It is said that hope flies on death's wings. Prepare then, for as the Elder Scrolls foretold, it will be here that your adventure begins. Uriel Septim IV, Emperor of Tamriel, stands with Talon, leader of the Imperial Guards. They have been summoned by Jagar Tharn, Imperial Battlemage of the Empire, on rumors of treachery. The Emperor is betrayed and transported to a dimension of Tharn's choosing. After months of preparation, Jagar Tharn takes the throne. Rhea Somain, once Tharn's apprentice, is captured before she can warn the Elder Council of the Imperial Battlemage's treachery. Manipulating the essence of magic, Tharn prepares to take the true Emperor's place as ruler of the known lands. The Imperial Wizard wastes no time in gathering his servants and turning them into twisted counterparts of the Emperor's Guard. When you were just a child, your neighbor Torza once threw a ball to you, accidentally shattering his own window. His father rushed out and demanded to know who broke the window. You knew Torza's father was a strict disciplinarian who would punish Torza severely if he took the blame. You, on the other hand, not being his child, knew that you could get away virtually unscathed. Despite this, your fear of authority forced you to remain silent and not get involved. For all your days, you would regret this cowardice. Another time, you found your missing ring in a coat pocket of Torza's that he had left in your pantry. He had mentioned on several occasions how much he liked the ring. You said nothing, deciding instead to wait and see what he did. If he was guilty or innocent, you would know by whatever actions he took. At that time, you could confront him with the truth. After requesting his coat back, Torza proceeded to tell you that he had a surprise. He'd found your missing ring you'd been searching for. When you were old enough to begin training with a weapon, Armsmaster Fasteel gave you a few hints about recognizing magical weaponry. Later, you were practicing archery with a few friends. Torza, who had never been a strong archer, had become something of a sharpshooter. You suddenly realized that he was using magical arrows. You chose that the wisest option was to say nothing, realizing that if you had need for magical arrows, you now may know someone to ask. After all, magic isn't really a cheat. It's a different skill. One time your mother sent you to the market with a list of goods to buy. After you finish, you find that by mistake the shopkeeper has given you too much money back in exchange for one of the items. You decided to pocket the extra money, knowing that shopkeepers in general tend to overcharge their customers anyways. While practicing alone one day, you develop a new fighting style you were very excited about. However, when you mentioned it to Armsmaster Fasteel, he told you it would never work in practical combat. You decided to accept his word without question. Armsmaster Fasteel has been fighting since your grandfather's day. He knew a flawed style when he saw it. You did come to him to teach you, after all. When you were finally old enough to own your own, Torza and you bought your first daggers together, a matching pair. You loaned him the gold, as he didn't have enough. While marveling at your new weapons later, to your dismay, you discovered that there is a small notch on the blade of your dagger. Torza asked you to watch his weapon for him while he ran some errands. You waited for your friend's return, and then pointed out the flaw in your dagger, and returned to the weapon shop to demand a refund. Nearing the age of wedlock, Torza was in love with a girl from a neighboring village, a girl who barely knew him. He was extremely shy and inexperienced, pleading for your help. You suggested he go to her immediately and declare his love. If the relationship was to be, he needed to be honest from the start. You were nearly an adult by the time Armsmaster Fasteel had grown old, and he had been heard commenting that his teaching is all that he has left in life. On one particular day, he ceaselessly taunted you at every mistake. Finally, he asked you to attack him with the same technique you just did, in an effort to show you the proper execution. You did the technique just fast enough that he could block it, despite your ability to do otherwise, with your youthful physique and his increasingly frail form. It was more important that you learn the proper techniques from him. On another occasion, your parents were having a party for several relatives. While helping set up around the house, you observed your cousin slip away into a darkened room. Curious, you followed him and discovered him slipping a silver candlestick into his jacket. He is an honorable boy, but you know his family has suffered some recent financial hardships. Knowing he had yet to see you, you closed the door behind you and said nothing. Your family can live without the candlestick, but your cousin's family obviously cannot. Upon adulthood, you participated in a town lottery. You looked in shock as the winning chit number matched your own. But before you could say anything, another family approached, walking forward. You have seen them before and you know that they are extremely poor. Your family, on the other hand, was very well off and could do without the 100 gold prize. So you said nothing and allowed the other family to take the prize. It was all of these events and more that led you to become the archer known as Z, the Demi-Girl wood elf of Valenwood. Thy race is one with the forest and its creatures, and thy strength flows from the Mother Earth itself. Thou art one with the world. And so let your fate be written into the Elder Scrolls. Do not fear, for it is I, Rhea Silmain. Z, listen to me. There are no others left to carry on this fight. You have been left in this cell to die. Jagar Tharn, Imperial Battlemage of Tamriel, has taken on the guise of the true Emperor. He does not see you as a threat, being only a minor part of the Imperial Court. In that act of arrogance, he has made his first mistake. Look to the north wall of this cell. You will find a ruby key which will unlock the door. Take it and make your escape. The passages here were once used by Tharn to hide treasures he had stolen from the Emperor's coffers. If you wish, you can gather enough to support yourself away from the Imperial seat. Be careful. There are many creatures which inhabit the sewers now, vile rats and goblins. It is too late for me, for I am already dead. Only my powers as a sorceress keep me between this life and the next. That power, however, is waning. Do not succumb to your greed, or you may find these tunnels to be your final resting place as well. I can still work my magic to a certain extent. If you travel west from this cell, then south, you will find a shift gate. It will transport you far enough from the center of the Empire that you should be safe. If you survive these sewers, you will see me again. Remember, Z, Tharn has taken on the guise of the Emperor. No one will gainsay his word for yours. I will come to you again in your dreams, so it is imperative that you rest from time to time. In that way, I will be able to communicate with you and lend my aid. You are entering a dangerous arena, my friend, one in which the players are beings beyond your mortal comprehension. I do not envy your role. There is, however, a power within you as yet untapped. Look for me when you have gained experience in the world. You are my last and best hope. You awaken to the drip of water from somewhere above. Rising groggily from the floor, your fingers clumsily happen across a familiar object. The hilt of a sword. A broadsword. Your broadsword, you recognize. Latching the weapon in its sheath around your waist, you slide the blade free of its covering, relishing in the sound of the metallic screech. As a whole host of keen yet vague memories wash over you. Brief glimpses of yourself, exchanging practice blows with Torza, watched over carefully by the ever-present eyes of Armsmaster Fasteel, flash through your mind. Sets of chains and manacles hang from the stone ceiling above, covered in the same slime as the walls. Statues of identical menacing faces adorn the walls. Your eye, however, immediately goes to a strange ruby glint from the corner of your cell. As you cross the darkened chamber, you pass a metal door of interlocking rods on your left. In the far corner of the room, resting on a flat platform, you find the ruby key that Rhea Solmain provided. Not surprisingly, you make your way back over to the metal door and fit the ruby key inside, unlocking it. You creak the door to the side and cautiously step into the next chamber. The dim lighting veils the far walls of this room, but a narrow stream of sickly green water flows into the darkness. Looking to either side, you find multiple exits from this room. The corridors here seem twisted and confusing, but you recall Rhea's instructions. If you travel west from this cell, then south, you will find a shift gate. However, a hefty bag of gold pieces, accompanied by a discarded longsword sitting in a near corner, also reminds you of another portion of her monologue. If you wish, you can gather enough to support yourself away from the Imperial seat. Considering these words, you quickly shuffle the coins into the pouch at your waist and wrap the sheath of the longsword about your right hip, opposite the broadsword. You prefer your broadsword to it, but it should still fetch a fair price when you make it back to the surface. Wondering what other treasures might hide in these sewers left behind by other adventurers and miscreants alike who utilize them for heroic or nefarious purposes, you decide to abandon the south and west paths, choosing instead to travel north. Walking along the waste river at your side, guttural growls can be heard ringing off the stone walls as you make your approach. You notice dark, mangled vines from the cracks in the ceiling as you pass by the door on your left. Nearly a moment too late, you hear the cell door slam open as you see the roughly sharpened edge of a hand axe flying at your head as a hunched figure with sickly olive-green skin springs from the darkened room. You dip under the blow, dodging it with only a minor scrape to show. Forgetting your lessons in the dread of the moment, you swing your blade wildly. The foul monster lurches backwards and hisses, beady eyes hiding in the back of dark hollows, and blood smeared across its toothy maw. Pointy ears jut out to either side. Once again, the hand axe flies at you, but this time you're prepared. Blocking the blade with yours, you twist and counter, crumpling the goblin to the floor in a bloody mess. Looking him over, you see his axe is riddled with flaws and notches, and he wears nothing but a loincloth. Nothing usable, you say to yourself. Proceeding forward rather than inspecting the hallway the goblin came from, you proceed down the north corridor, seeming to catch yet another goblin unaware. Ready for combat this time, you let the goblin make the first two slashes, dodging them with ease before running through his defense with your broadsword. Continuing on, the corridor opens to a much wider chamber, one which appears empty upon quick inspection. However, a series of loud, warlike grunts alert you to another oncoming goblin approaching from behind. The hilt of a dagger jams into your shin before you have time to whirl around. Feet skitter away against the ground as you turn, finding at first what appears to be the same empty room before you notice shadows dancing behind a near corner. You crouch into a battle stance and back away, forcing your enemy into a charge. The third goblin rushes around the corner, growling as he jabs at you with his dagger. You best him after a quick exchange of blades, being sure to stash the surprisingly well-crafted weapon into your breeches. As the sewer once again fall eerily quiet, something tells you this chamber still holds secrets, preventing you from moving on through the hallway before you. As you carefully scan the walls, your foot stumbles across a small mechanical platform that drops slightly under the ball of your toe, causing a portion of the wall to slide upwards and out of place, revealing a concealed hall. You come to a bend in the hall where the corner portion of the floor is missing and sewer waters flow below. Unsure if you can clear the gap, you decide to turn back and proceed with the directions that Rhea provided you, remembering her warning. Do not succumb to greed, or you may find these tunnels to be your final resting place as well. The visage and accompanying scent of bones and discarded bits of flesh littering the floor sickens your senses as you make your way back south. You also notice several outcroppings in the stone walls with flat, raised platforms. You consider that it may be safe to rest in one of these niches, as the rats and other creatures that surely inhabit these sewers may not smell you with the draft that runs so close to the floor. Still, you pray to the gods that you don't develop the need to seek refuge for the night in this place. Continuing through the confusing maze-like patterns of the sewers, attempting to heed Ria's directions as safely as possible, you find yourself unnerved by the constant sounds of groaning goblins and slamming cell doors echoing through the distant passageways. A barrel of supplies with several ration sacks piled around it in one room tells you that these goblins have made their home here. However, you have little time to consider the meaning behind this before you feel sharpened scissors digging into either side of your right foot. Kicking violently in reaction, you find an overgrown rat, mangy and ravenous, squeaking violently in confrontation. With a swipe of your sword, you slay the beast, still astonished at the proportions it's able to grow to in this environment. Paying keen attention to your surroundings now, you don't travel far before you observe the skittering of many tiny clawed feet on the wet brownstones, and red eyes seem to glitter at you from the darkness ahead. Charging forward to slay the rat, and many others that would follow as you attempt to navigate your way through these tunnels, you eventually come to an undesirable conclusion. You'll have to travel through the sewer waters in order to make your escape. You try not to think about why the underside of these bricks seem to be stained a putrid yellow as you traverse low tunnels, wading through disgusting waters of waste. A goblin awaits you at the end of this tunnel, its growls preceding it as you reach the opening. As you attempt to clamber to the edge and onto solid ground, you're battered with a barrage of hand axe swings before you're finally able to rise to your feet and strike them down. The violent exchange, coupled with the exposure to the sewer water, leaves you feeling weary and weak. Still, you know the route you were told out of this place, and you can see that unfortunately, only one pathway leads that direction out of this room. Reluctantly, you plunge into the running water once more. You soon discover that even the waterways here seem to fork and branch in a baffling series of twists and turns. After many more battles and much more on-shore routing, your soreness eventually begins to get the better of you, slowing your reactions. A rat skitters up from the darkness ahead, biting firmly into your toes. You stab your sword into its back, stilling it, but your uneasiness does not subside. You don't know whether it was the disease-infested rodent or the nature of your environment that has corrupted your health, but your vision begins to fade as you stumble forwards and sprawl out across one of the niches carved in the walls. As your surroundings go black, an image appears in your mind. You're unsure whether it's a dream or a vision you're seeing. I see you have strengthened your arm and your mind, Z. It is time we began this journey. This is the Staff of Chaos, the one item that can open the door between this world and the dimension to which the Emperor has been banished. Tharn used this item to destroy my corporeal form when I tried to warn the Council. He knew that the Staff of Chaos was nigh indestructible, having been made from the essence of the land itself. But in that, he found the key. As the land is split, so did he shatter the staff into 8 perfectly formed pieces. These he scattered across the realm. I have been able to divine the location of the first piece, a place called Fang Lair. It is said that Fang Lair was originally built by the dwarves of Kragan. Legend has it that a great worm drove the dwarves from their home in the dragon's teeth and took the lair for itself. I only wish I knew the exact location. Perhaps there are sages or scholars who would know of this place. Somewhere in the dank depths lies the first piece of the Staff of Chaos. I wish you well, Z. I do not think that Tharn knows of your escape, but I can do little else in this form. I have tried to obscure your identity with a spell, but I do not know how well it will hide you. Take care, for Tharn may be searching. Go forth with the blessings of the true Emperor and myself. Sometime later you stir awake, shaking off the grime from the stone surface you slept on. How long was I out? You wonder, shocked that your rest went undisturbed. You fear for the time you've lost, but you're thankful for the relief brought to your body and mind from the period of unwilling unconsciousness. Nearing the end of your journey, you stumble across a small bag of gold coins lying next to a mysterious-looking amulet. Adding them both to your inventory, you continue forward. Before making your exit, you manage to scrounge up another bag of coins as well. As you round a corner, you can see the shimmering field of the shift gate ahead. As you draw closer, the blue aura framing the dark portal comes more clearly into view. With a deep breath and a hint of apprehension of what you may find on the other side, you step through, reminding yourself it can't be worse than this place.
I'm currently on episode like 68, I think, of his, and his content is definitely pretty cool. Oh, that sounds lame. Most of the videos on this channel are going to be for, I don't know. Yeah, I'm editing this, baby. It's not live. But essentially, and my cat has now decided that she would like to help with the video. So, essentially, I had decided that the first game that I'm doing this...
Hey, baby.
Yeah?
You should shout out each of your patrons. Patreon.
You're right, I should. Bailey Royale? Thank you guys so much for supporting the Patreon, and I will do my best to keep delivering awesome content. Thanks.
Finger snap.
Yeah, but I'm taking that off because that wasn't even there was more I wanted to say.